Hey y'all, this is Dr. Amy. We're here with another episode. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we're going to talk about handling depression. My guest today is Miss Cathy Jean Francois. She is a middle school English teacher. She's an author, a blogger. She has a passion for writing, and she's going to offer us some encouragement on handling depression. I'm going to get something from this personally because I myself is battling depression. And so we both, my audience and myself, will get something from this conversation. So welcome, Miss Cathy.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amy. I really appreciate you inviting me onto your podcast.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
You want to say a little bit more about yourself?
Sure.
I might have missed something.
Yeah, so I am an English teacher. Like you said, my first passion always been writing. And when I was in college, I decided that I was going to be a world famous writer and travel all over the place. And well, that didn't quite happen like that, but I did become a teacher, but I never lost my passion for writing. And in the middle of that, I realized that I happened to suffer with depression. And at first, I didn't know what I was dealing with, what I was suffering with. This was like, I'm going to say about back 20, 30 years ago. And I was always so just down and crying for no particular reason at all. And it wasn't until like about maybe 5 years ago. Well, I did seek therapy for it, which I highly believe in. I was medicated for a while, but I'm no longer medicated. But it wasn't until I created my blog, Cathy's Cross, about 5 years ago, where I really started to help myself dig deep into why I was suffering with depression in the first place. So I thought that that was really interesting.
So I read a little bit about Cathy's Cross, where you share positive thoughts and ideas for people that deal with depression.
Yeah. So what I try to do is look at the moments in my life where I was incredibly depressed or angry about something that didn't seem to really have a basis for it. And I really tried to understand why I was feeling this way. And a lot of times I ended up reflecting on more positive ways of being, maybe different ways that I could have handled the situation, thinking about, okay, this bad thing happened. What have I gained from it? What have I learned from it? And I felt that, I also, there are also a lot of quotes that resonate with me. So I felt like thinking about my depressive states in those ways and thinking about the quotes that resonate with me just helped me to feel better, And it's funny because the reason why I feel like I don't need medication at this point, although I still do suffer with depression, is when there was a time when my sister, my cousins, and I we were all challenging each other with exercise, and so we were exercising on a regular basis, challenging each other, and then we would share positive quotes with each other, and we would look at positive and motivational videos on YouTube. And I realized that all this stuff, I was taking in all this positivity, the exercise, the community with my family, the motivational videos, all of that. It's like I inundated myself with all of that, and I really felt like it helped me, So I continued with talk therapy with my therapist, and I continued doing all that I started doing, including meditating, and I really feel like that helped me tremendously. So I am not somebody who will take medication, although I strongly believe that there's a place for it and many people do need it in order to get through their darkest time. But for me, I felt like, wow, I've been able to do something where I help myself overcome this darkness in a more natural way. So I was really taken aback by that. And I realized it all, just when I was creating my blog about depression.
Yeah, that's good. When I first discovered I had depression, I kind of knew it for a while, but it was about 8 years ago that I started medication. But then I was able to wean myself off of it and I was doing good. And then my older sister died. So,
Sorry.
when you have a traumatic event or any, events in the family or someone dies, trauma, that can exacerbate your
Of
depression. So I
course.
found myself during that grief period
Hmm.
getting more depressed. So I sought therapy.
Hmm.
And at first I was doing okay. And then actually my therapist had recommended, Amy, she considered me going back on the antidepressant.
Hmm.
So right now I'm still on it. But I do want to wean off of it because I feel like my mood is stable.
Good.
And with the positive ideas, do you recommend affirmations?
I do. I started meditating every morning for about 10 minutes, and no more than that. And I also included within those meditations affirmations. And I found it all on YouTube. It's not like I came up with it all myself. I would
Right.
Whatever I was feeling, like maybe if I was feeling extra anxious or something, I would go on YouTube, meditation for feeling anxious. And I would just do that. And affirmations, I have a whole list of my favorite meditations, my favorite affirmations that I just say on a regular basis. And at first, when I first started it, I didn't feel like anything was happening. I was just like, this is not helping me. It's not magic. It really isn't. But slowly my mindset shifted and I wasn't trying to force anything. I just kept doing it, just kept trying to see if it was helping. As I said, I was doing this with my cousins and my sister, and they were talking about some meditations that were powerful for them. And I would try them, and I was like, this didn't do anything for me. But you have to find what works for you.
Right.
So yes, I do recommend affirmations. And it's interesting because the affirmations, you may not believe them at first, but if you keep saying them and you start to believe them, you start to feel like it, and then you start to take action that will confirm the affirmations that you're saying. And I think it's just so important.
Yeah, and I got a book on my Audible app with a book of affirmations.
Mhm.
And I was fake because I'm a traveling nurse practitioner, so I'm on the road a lot.
Mhm.
So I would listen to them, while I'm in the car. But then I kind of slacked off.
Mhm.
And then I was like you, I was like, are these really helping me?
Mhm.
Because I find myself, okay, I'll do the affirmations. Then after I listen to them, it's like the enemy will tell me, like, those affirmations ain't going to help you. Why are you
Mhm.
listening to them? But I guess on doing it, like you said, on a routine
Yeah.
and then finding what fits you.
Exactly. Because if you think about it, when we take antidepressants medication, it doesn't work right away. Your
Mm-mm.
body has to get used to it. Your system has to get used to it. And then once you're off of it, then you kind of go back, regress to how you were feeling before. And I feel like it's the same thing with meditations and affirmations. You have to start getting used to it. I don't know. That's the best way that I can explain it.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I encourage people out there. If you feel like the affirmations are not helping or the positive quotes,
Mhm.
don't give up on it.
Yeah.
It's not gonna work overnight
Yeah.
process, just like with medications, like Miss Cathy says. What
Yeah.
about, do you believe in prayer?
I do believe in prayer. I don't pray often. There are certain times in my life where, well, certain things that are happening that I do pray. Prayer. I don't know. It comes to me. I do when I'm feeling it. When it comes to me, and one of the prayers that I recite to myself every once in a while when I really feel like I need that extra support is the Lord is with me. The Lord is by my side. I just keep repeating it. The Lord is with me. The Lord is by my side. The Lord is with me. The Lord is by my side. And it makes me feel so good. And it makes me feel comforted, and yeah. So that's the most with prayer that I'll do, but I believe in it. Anything that will help comfort you,
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's a simple, short prayer.
Yeah.
And it's recognizing, reverencing God,
Yeah.
Lord, and honoring Him.
Yeah.
I like that. The Lord is with me. The Lord is by my side.
Yep, I just keep repeating that. And it
Yeah.
started off like years ago where I used to be nervous and anxious, and I would say, please, Lord, please be with me, please be by my side, please be with me, please be by my side. And then sometime at one year, at one point it shifted for me. And I was like, well, why am I asking him to be here with me when he's always here with me? And so I switched it to the Lord is with me, the Lord is by my side. And ever since then, it just always brings me comfort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you mentioned anxious, the anxious feeling, anxiety and depression. Like usually when someone has depression, they also have some, forms of anxiety as well.
Yeah. I didn't realize that I suffered with anxiety until again, when I really started reflecting on my depression, when I started writing my blog. I didn't realize that all these feelings that I had when being uncomfortable around other people, feeling angry when I wanted to be home and I wasn't. I didn't realize that all of that was anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just thinking about how you're feeling and not being able to control your mood makes you anxious in itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something.
It's a
What
tough path.
other alternative therapies do you suggest? Because I read that you did acupuncture.
I did acupuncture many years ago for menstrual cramp, and so I would go every week. Had a standing appointment with them. And it helped with menstrual cramps. It really did. But then I forgot there was a reason why I stopped going for a while. I think about a month. And in that month, I got really, really depressed. Nothing major happened to bring me down. It was just like I was just suddenly so low. I was always upset and crying. And then when I went back to the acupuncturist, I didn't stop because I was just like, oh, I don't need this anymore. I forgot what happened. But when I went back and I sat down and the acupuncturist, she asked me, so how's everything going? And I just burst into tears. And it was like I didn't even realize how depressed I was until she asked me that, And I burst into tears. This was way before I even thought about talk therapy. And I told her, all that was bothering me. And then she told me that the acupuncture that I was doing for the menstrual cramps seemed to also have helped with depression, have helped me overcome depression. I think soon after that, I sought talk therapy. I never continued with the acupuncture again, but I believe that works. It was pretty amazing. It was pretty amazing.
Wow, that's good. I'm trying to think back. Have I ever had acupuncture? I don't think I ever had it.
Yeah.
Is it, people think, oh, these needles going into your skin. Was it painful?
There was there was one time when she put it on my hand, and that was painful because it was by my vein. But I have to admit, all the other points, like everywhere from my head to my legs to my arms, didn't feel it. I felt the needle go in, and then after that, nothing. And the feeling of the needle going in was like a slight pinch. That was like, but that's what I remember. And it was very interesting. Again, something I feel like you have to do for a certain amount of time before you start really feeling the results. There's some people who probably feel the results right away. I don't know, but yeah.
Wow. You said are you still with therapy now? Talk therapy?
I don't have a therapist at this time because the therapist that I worked with for 7 years, and who I liked very much, she no longer took my insurance. And it's been such a challenge for me to find somebody now to take my insurance. So hard. And I found that there's a lot of new therapy modalities that are coming out where there's one that you message the person through, you send them messages and they message you back. And I didn't like that one. But
you preferred in person?
I prefer in person or even via Zoom. I like that because during the pandemic, I was seeing my therapist and we were doing it via Zoom and I was fine with that. I feel like I need to have that conversation. I need to look at the person while I talk to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also did the online therapy organization. And I met my therapist through that organization. We were doing Zoom, and then I was able to meet her in person because she was actually in my local area. So
nice.
But I just recently moved from Florida to Texas, and she doesn't have a license here in Texas. So it's like, okay. But she will check in with me pray with
Mm.
me when I
Oh,
need it,
nice.
but she's just not able to offer me therapy services.
Oh, wow.
But I felt like I was with her for about, I think it's going on 6 months. So my mood is pretty stable now,
Hmm.
but I know I have to keep a close eye on it.
Yeah.
I know at times I'll isolate myself. Have you
Mhm.
ever gone through that phase where you're
Oh,
just,
yeah.
because I know
Oh,
you
yeah.
mentioned, you said you didn't want to be like out of the
Yeah.
house.
I tend to I suffer with social anxiety as well. And
Hmm.
so when I'm in a place where there's a whole lot of people, if I'm not really prepared, mentally prepared for that, I can't be in that space. I don't have that mental headspace for that. So there's that social anxiety. But and again, I didn't realize this until I started really looking into myself and really reflecting
Hmm.
on what it is that really is bothering me.
So when you thought back, did you think of, was it a traumatic event that might have triggered it, or does it run in your family?
Well, I do believe that it runs in my family, that many people in my family do suffer with depression. But during I didn't recall during my therapy sessions. It was while I was watching a program with my cousins and my sister, of a woman who was sexually molested in the naval base that she was where she was working, where it suddenly came upon me. I remembered an event that happened when I was, I think, 11 or 12 years old, with
Mhm.
concerning a boy who I did not know, who touched me in the wrong way and said words to me that I was not expecting. He touched me, and my 11-year-old mind didn't even realize what was happening until he said, "Don't worry, I won't tell nobody." Like, of course, that's going to trigger me. I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, what is that? What does he mean? What is he talking about?" And I
Yeah.
and I ran away. And for
Wow.
a long time, now this is me, sixth grader, right? This little sixth grade, very, very innocent, don't know anything about boys or sex or
Mm-mm.
anything.
Mm-mm.
And I remember so distinctly beating myself up mentally for allowing that to happen, right? I didn't blame him for it. I blamed me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was that year that I started feeling that I started hating myself, having feelings of self-hate, anger, just crying a lot. That was
Mm-hmm.
the year. And it all came back to me. Now, I always remember that specific situation, but I never put the pieces together that that was the year that I started becoming depressed.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I, and like I said, this happened like maybe a few years ago. I was still seeing my therapist at the time. And when I told her about what I just this uncovered, what I just realized, I was in tears. I was crying, and she was telling me, "Kathy, this is not your fault."
Yeah.
And I was like, "But why do I feel like this?" You know? So even when it came back to me, I felt like 11-year-old me again. And and I understood. I understood the self-hate. I understood why it was so hard for me to be in relationships. I understood why it was hard for me to be in social settings. It all made sense. It
Yeah.
all made sense.
Yeah. That's something because my therapist, she helped me realize, from what I went through childhood, being fatherless, my father not being present, that triggered some things as I got older.
Mhm.
With me not having a father, like you said, along with relationships, failed relationships, it all stemmed back to, oh, your father didn't show up.
Mhm.
So these men didn't show up in your life. So it was
Mhm.
like, gosh, open your eyes and see
Yeah,
all this came about.
yeah, yeah.
Can you talk about your book, The Box?
Yes. Oh, I'm excited about that. The Box is a book 20 years in the making. I
Oh,
started it about
good.
20 years ago. And I let it go when I became a teacher. I just put it off to the side. But I wanted to write a story about a woman who was dealing with depression, and she did not know how to handle it. She did not know how to help herself. And it transformed into something completely. not completely different because now as it stands, she still suffers with depression, but she understands it. She understands where it's coming from. She just has a hard time letting go. She has a hard time dealing with the trauma that caused her depression.
Mhm.
And it all stems from her parents, mostly her mother, and her mother has since passed on, yet she still can't find it within her to forgive her mother for how her mother had treated her when she was alive, until she finds a painting that her mother had gifted to her before she passed, and she finds a note in the painting saying, I'm sorry for the way that I was. Find my wooden box and you'll understand. And so now she's on a mission to find this box to find out what her mother is talking about and to find out where the source of her trauma came from. And so
Oh,
yeah, that's what my novel is about. And it's so funny because as I was researching it, researching depression way back, that's when I discovered that I was suffering with depression, and that's when I sought therapy for the first time. And I felt like what I did was I used all the times when I was really, really deep in depression. I was like, this is good stuff for my book. So I would write it down, even in my depressive state, I'd write down like how exactly I'm feeling. Like
yes.
so that so it could come off authentic on the page, so that I've given her all of my sorrows, all of my depression, all of my feelings, my self-hate, and I've given it to my main character. And I felt
Okay.
that that was so therapeutic,
Oh, wow. Yes.
so therapeutic, and that has helped me as well. So I feel that one of the things that we can do to help ourselves when it comes to depression is just dive into our whatever our passion is, whatever
Yes.
it is, dive into it. Take all your frustrations, all that negativity, all that darkness, put it out
Yes.
into the thing, whether it's gardening, painting, um,
Mhm.
dancing, anything. Just take all that darkness, let it go in that way. Now, of course, it's not like a one solve fix all,
Right.
nothing is really. You just have to keep doing it.
Yeah.
And so I use the box as a way to help me through my depression. And when I started my blog, Kathy's Cross, I delved more like the box is fictional, right? I use my pain as that source, but with Kathy's Cross, I'm putting it all out on the page. I'm letting anybody who comes across my blog see what's going on inside here and inside here, right? I'm
Yeah.
letting it all out. And even somebody that I knew asked me, why are you doing this? You're not getting paid for it. Why are you letting people into your personal life? And I was like, I don't know. It's just something about it that just makes me feel better inside.
You never know who's going to be encouraged or motivated from you speaking your truth and what you're feeling. Because
Yeah,
someone that read that might be feeling the same way.
yeah.
And during on your blog, when you're writing your feelings or what's going on in your mind, do you also note what you did to help combat those feelings?
Yes, yes, I do, and I write it down all the time on the blog, like different things that I've done in the past and different perspectives that I try to take, and
Mhm.
even thinking about if somebody, my sister was always there for me. She didn't understand my depression, and neither did I, but she didn't understand how to help me. But there were times when she'd be like, okay, let's do this and let's do that. She's the one who really pushed me to find a therapist at first. And and I sometimes I just gave in. So sometimes there will be people who are trying to reach out to you. Maybe it's worth it to just see what would happen if you
Mhm.
allow them to reach you. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I know it's hard because I've been there. When you're in that depressive state and no one in the world can possibly understand what you're going through. This is how we
Yeah.
feel. No one can possibly understand what you're going through. So you feel like you have to lock yourself away. You can't be around anybody. I understand, but sometimes you just have to try. It takes a great amount of strength to let other people in. It takes a great amount of strength to immerse yourself in that creative project. It takes a great amount of strength to seek therapy. It takes a great amount of stress, of strength to take the medication. I understand
Mhm.
it's not easy. It's not
Yes.
easy, but I think you have to. I mean, it's not easy, but being depressed is also not easy. And sometimes you have to, I don't know, believe that you can break through that to just
Hmm.
take one step to
Yeah.
see if you can handle it. I think it's
I
important.
had to apologize to my sister when she first started having like anxiety attacks. And I would look at her like, you got to fight this. And, just telling her I didn't really understand it. And then when I started experiencing symptoms of it, I was like, now I can understand what she was feeling. And
Hmm.
I had to apologize to her. I'm like, I'm sorry I was hard on you because I was just telling her, you got to fight it. You got to get through this.
Hmm. Yeah.
But when somebody's going through that episode of anxiety or an attack or they're in that mode, you can't push them at that moment. You just got to be there and listen and support them.
Yeah, it's so true. I have in my novel, my main character's best friend, she doesn't quite understand the depression that my main character suffers with. So she's always like, just get over it. And that's what people used to tell me, get over it. And
Mm,
there's no just getting over it. You can't just get over it. You can't wake up and decide, today I'm not going to be depressed. It just doesn't work that way.
mm-mm.
It doesn't work. It takes an incredible amount of strength and resolve, but you can't just get over it. It's that's just not how it works.
Yeah. And I
And
appreciate the fact that I recognize, my symptoms. I sought therapy. I also pray,
Mhm,
taking medicine right now, but
mhm,
I feel like I need it right
mhm.
now.
Yeah. And you know what? And, and I want to stress that the way that I helped myself with depression, but completely by accident, was a cocktail of a bunch of different things. I was seeking therapy. I exercised regularly. I did the motivational videos. I meditated, affirmations. It was a whole bunch of stuff that I was doing all at the same time. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
really feel like there's just one or two things that you can do and then you're great. Maybe it might
Exactly.
work like that for some people, but I really believe that there are a number of things that you might have to do. And that seems exhausting, but you do what you have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're right. How is it with your class, your school, your middle school class? Do they do they trigger any changes in your mood, or you have a pretty good class?
No, they trigger me. They trigger me. And I always have to take a deep breath. You know what I do when I grade assignments? I
Uh-huh.
have to listen to calming music while I'm grading assignments because
Oh,
I get
good.
so angry.
Like y'all didn't listen.
Yes,
Y'all didn't
exactly.
study.
So what I do, everything that we do together in the class, right? I give my students step-by-step instructions, right? And I give them Google slides that I have available for them so they could always have access to the Google slides and everything that I give them. And then I talk to them. I'm telling them, this is what you have to do. Number one, number two, let's do it all together. I'm going to help you with it. Well, I do all the things. And then I get I get an assignment that's like she was never in the class to begin with. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And even my sister asked me, she's like, but this is what happens every year. Why are you so upset? I was like, I don't know. I really don't know, but I just go over this with them. Yes, they trigger me. So I have to listen to calming music as I grade. Yes, it's a thing.
Okay.
But in the classroom itself, I have to admit that yeah, the students do make get on my nerves every once in a while, but I teach seventh graders and they're just like really cute. So sometimes
Okay.
sometimes I see them and I'm just like, oh, they're just kids. So I have a
Yeah.
good time with them. I like joking around with them and being silly. But
I
it
commend you.
Yeah,
Ooh,
thank you.
being a teacher. Girl,
Yeah,
I commend you.
teaching is not easy work. It's not,
Mm.
but it is what it is.
Family support. I heard you talking about your sister and your
And my cousins.
cousin.
Yeah,
So you have a vast amount of family support.
I do. I have a very large family. My mother was one out of five or six siblings, and all their kids, are which are my cousins. We all got along so well growing up, and so I have like a major support system. But there are two cousins and my sister who mostly know most of the things that are going on in my life, and they're the ones who I call for support. I said two cousins, but they're actually three cousins. They're the ones who I call for support. I just separated from my husband. They were there with me, helping me get off the ledge, helping me just so family support. If you are fortunate to have a family that you get along with, that you care for, that they care for you, I mean, it is everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. I don't know what I would do without my family. I really don't. They just inspire me. They're my rock. I just don't know what I would do without them.
Do you have close friends as well?
I do have close friends. Two, I would say two or three in particular. They know about what's going on in my life as well. And we confide in each other, very good friends. One of them I met in high school, another one I met even before we were in kindergarten. My mom used to babysit her when she was just a little
Oh,
baby,
wow,
and we
that's
grew up,
good.
being best friends. So but yeah, I feel like close friends are very, very important too.
So, what advice would you give to other depressives out there? What are just your main advice? I know we mentioned all the alternative therapies,
Mhm.
but what would be your main key point or piece of advice for someone that's
First of all, I want to suggest that they try a number of different avenues before feeling like, oh no, nothing's working for me. Try a number of different avenues and not just for like once or twice, but secondly, I really, really feel that it's important that we immerse ourselves in our passion. Everybody has a passion. Everybody has something that they really like, even if it's just like watching movies, you know. I think that diving into your passion, I really feel will help. And of course, seeking that professional mental help, um, health care provider. I think that that's important to talk it out. We need to unleash what's happening with us, right? And I think we need to unleash it in several different ways. Talk therapy, art therapy, any different types of ways. So I highly recommend just trying a number of different things until you find the thing that works for you. Yeah.
and also with seeking a licensed therapist is somebody that would be non-judgmental.
Hmm.
They don't know you because sometimes you talk to family or friends.
Hmm.
They're a little bit more biased, and they
Yes.
sometimes maybe will sugarcoat things.
Yes.
So having a therapist, meeting somebody that don't know any of your history,
Hmm.
you start with them from day one and you tell them about what's going on. I think it's better to have it. They're non-biased,
Yeah.
so definitely a
Well,
therapist.
I'm curious what your thoughts are. Would you, I'm, what are your thoughts about a person of color, a therapist who's a person of color as opposed to Caucasian? What are your thoughts about that?
Um, when I first started therapy, my therapist is a Hispanic.
Hmm.
So she is a person of color. She's
Yeah.
not African American.
Hmm.
But I was able to also get into group sessions.
Okay.
And the group session, it was a Black psychiatrist
Oh, nice.
overseeing the group. So I liked that. And it was a lot of Black women
Oh, I love that.
were battling depression. And we were all just in that group, just kind of express what was on our mind at that moment or how our day was.
Hmm.
We would meet like, I think, once a month. So we would kind of express, like, since the last time we had met up, what happened during those weeks.
Hmm.
And it was good because you saw people that looked like you, the same color,
Yeah.
and it made you feel like, gosh, I'm not the only one that's going through this,
Yeah.
a Black female, because we're taught to be strong.
Yes, exactly.
We're the strong one in the family. We can't be around here depressed.
Yes,
Like,
exactly.
you depressed? Depressed what?
Yeah.
You better
Yeah.
come
What you got to
pull
be
me
depressed
down.
about? Right?
So it was nice, yeah. But if I were to get another therapist, yes, I would prefer
Mhm.
someone that
Yeah.
was Black.
I think that's why I'm having such a hard time now because my previous therapist was was Jewish, and I was with her for so long. She knew me and understood me, and she was hard on me
Mhm.
when she needed to be, and she was, comforting when she needed to be. And so when my sessions ended with her, I was looking for a person of color, and it just didn't happen. And I'm wondering, maybe if I kept my options open, I would have found a therapist already. I don't know. But yeah, I definitely want to find somebody who's a person of color because I really feel like that would help me in understanding my perspective a little bit better. I really feel like that would help. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what and it's not us being prejudiced or
No,
anything
no.
to people that are watching that are not of color. It's
Yeah.
just we want somebody that's, like you said, have better understanding of, our culture.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you want to have somebody that's culturally competent. That's like
Exactly.
with me being a health provider. I have to be culturally competent when I go see my Caucasian patients, Hispanic,
hmm
Black. So it's
Yeah.
just our preference.
Yeah. I agree. I agree.
Yeah. So how can we read is it a blog or a vlog?
Okay.
It's
It's a blog. It's a
blog.
blog,
Okay.
yes. My blog is called Cathy's Cross. It's at .wordpress.com. And interestingly enough, I haven't written a post in quite a long time. I think I'm depressed. Ever since I separated from my husband, it, you know, but in that meantime, I've been working on my novel, which I am going to self-publish in July. And
Okay. That was my next question.
yeah, yeah. And so I'm excited about that. And I'm going to publish it in July. And I would like to, so I'm doing this whole promotion thing, and anybody who's listening to this podcast, if they send me a message on my Instagram which is Cathy, Cathy underscore Marie, Marie, and the number one. If they send a message to me, if they DM me on Cathy underscore Marie one and tell me that they listen to this podcast, I could give them a free gift. So with my novel when they order it. Yes. So
What's your Instagram
it's
again?
it's
Instagram.
Cathy Cathy underscore
Hmm.
Marie Marie and the number one.
Okay. I'll have that in the details of this episode. So,
Okay, great.
um,
If you want, if you want, I could send you all my contact information on the website.
okay, that'll
Yeah,
be
that
good.
one. Yeah.
And I'll
Okay.
put that all in the details, and
Yeah.
we'll be July, right? We'll be
Yes. July is the
looking out for your
publication.
book, The Box.
Yes, the
So
box.
when you say you're gonna do it, you're not gonna go with the company. You're gonna do it
Yeah,
by
I'm
yourself,
self-publishing.
self-publishing.
I'm
Okay,
self-publishing, yeah.
okay. So when you self-publish, how does that? Because I've heard some people self-publish like through Amazon and
Mhm. Amazon has a platform called KDP, Kindle Direct Publishing, and you upload your files to that website, but it has to be formatted a certain way. I'm learning all of that right now, but it has to be
okay,
formatted a certain way. You upload it, and you have to have your cover. It's free to upload it to KDP, right? However, you have to make sure all the dimensions, everything is right, is the
okay,
correct format for it, right? And so it tends to be expensive in hiring your own freelancers, hiring your own cover designer, formatter, editor, all that stuff. And so that's where the expense comes in, it seems.
right.
Yeah, but I'm learning.
Yep.
Yeah.
Go get it, girl. So July, we'll be looking out for your novel, The
Yes.
Box.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so y'all put that on your calendar in July. We got to
Mhm.
look out for Miss Cathy's novel.
Yes.
And I appreciate you, Cathy, for
You.
joining me this evening.
I appreciate you as well.
Um,
This was a great conversation.
it was
Mhm.
very great conversation, and I hope someone gets something from this. This
Mhm.
is May and Mental Health Awareness Month, and I encourage y'all to be motivated by this.
Yeah.
Kathy had some great suggestions on how you can handle your depression, and we will stick with it. You
Yes.
know, when you feel like it's not helping and you just want to give up, don't give up. Stick with it.
Yes.
All right.
All
Well, I
right.
appreciate you, and
Thank you.
I hope you have a good night.
Thank you. Same as you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Have a good night.